When consumers saw the total price up front, 83% chose the best deal. When the same price was dripped out in pieces, only 65%. Same price, worse decisions. So today we're ranking 11 pricing tactics, from mostly transparent to seriously dangerous, by how much they distort your decisions. The bottom tiers nudge. The top tiers trap. F tier. The tactics that still influence you, but leave the real price visible. There's only one item down here. Transparent bundles and combo pricing. When the total bundle price is shown upfront, and the parts actually fit together, bundling can reduce your search time instead of hiding the cost. A restaurant combo or a software suite isn't hiding anything when the all-in price sits right there. OECD research says bundles can genuinely lower search costs, and sometimes even lower your total spend. The caveat: if the seller buries the standalone prices or packs the bundle with filler you don't want, this tactic can still nudge you into mediocre value. But that's a design problem, not a hide the cost problem. D tier. Real behavioral nudges, but they don't usually hide the full price. These tactics change what feels cheap without blocking comparison. First, charm pricing. $19.99 instead of $20. The left digit effect is real. 1 cent can matter when it changes the first number you see. Thomas and Morwitz showed that people perceive $2.99 as meaningfully smaller than $3. Not because they can't do math, because the leftmost digit grabs attention first and sets the mental anchor. But your brain can still correct. The number's right there. That's why it's D tier and not higher. It's a nudge, not a trap. Next D tier tactic, decoy pricing. A deliberately bad option is added to the menu so the option next to it looks like a steal. A 2024 broadband experiment with over 4,000 UK shoppers documented it. Add one plan that's obviously dominated, and people flock to the plan that beats it, even if a better value sits right beside it. The catch? Decoys work best when you're comparing quickly. Slow down, look at the features side by side, and the trick collapses. That's why it stays in D tier. C tier. Mixed tactics that can be fair in some contexts and harmful in others. Only one item lives here. Dynamic pricing tied to market conditions. Prices change with demand and supply, often in real time. Think ride-hailing surges, hotel rates, airfare spikes. OECD explicitly separates dynamic pricing from personalized pricing. Dynamic pricing responds to market-wide conditions, not to who you are. When demand spikes, everyone sees the higher price. Research on ride-hailing surge pricing found efficiency gains. Scarce supply gets matched to people who need it most. The problem is opacity. When you can't tell why the price moved, trust collapses. And if the algorithm starts using your browsing history or loyalty data to set the price, it's not dynamic anymore. It's personalized. That's a different tier entirely. B tier. Tactics that clearly distort your judgment before you commit. They don't always hide the final price, but they corrupt your sense of value or time. Misleading reference pricing and strike-through discounts. A product is marked was $120, now $40. Except the $120 price was never real. FTC guidance says former price comparisons are only legitimate when the prior price is bona fide, actually offered for a substantial period. EU rules now require retailers to reference the lowest price in the prior 30 days. Research on advertised reference prices shows they change your internal anchor, what you think is a fair deal. Even though the sale price is visible, the fake anchor makes you feel like you're saving when you're not. Second B-tier item: false urgency and countdown timers. Deal ends in 4 hours, except the timer resets every day. OECD reporting on UK testing found that time-limited offers produce the second highest detriment after drip pricing. They cause people to buy at the first shop, even when shopping around would save them money. The UK pursued mattress retailer Emma Sleep over countdown timers in May 2026. Court-endorsed settlement. The tactic isn't a trivial UX flourish when the deadline is misleading. Now, A tier. Strong concern, frequent abuse. These tactics go beyond framing. They exploit inattention, data asymmetry, or the fact that you've already started. Pre-selected optional add-ons. Extras are already ticked in your cart. You have to notice them and untick them, or you pay. EU consumer law explicitly bans pre-ticked boxes for additional payments. UK guidance says businesses cannot charge for optional extras unless the consumer expressly agreed. CMA's 2025 enforcement push named this tactic specifically. Default effects are powerful, especially when you're rushing through checkout on mobile. The absolute dollar harm per transaction is often small, but scale it across millions of checkouts, and it's serious money. Next, A-tier tactic: personalized or surveillance pricing. The price you see might be different from the price someone else sees, based on your browsing, your loyalty data. FTC staff said in January 2025 that a person's precise location or browser history can be used to target individual consumers with different prices for the same goods. OECD materials show 12% of all EU respondents and 20% of informed respondents reported bad experiences with personalized pricing. The problem is the asymmetry. You often cannot tell whether a displayed price is the market price, a discount, or a personalized extraction. The infrastructure is real. The public evidence on how often it's used is still incomplete. Last A-tier item: bait and switch pricing. An advertised low-price offer lures you in, but the seller never truly intends to sell on those terms. FTC guidance defines bait advertising as an alluring but insincere offer meant to switch you to something pricier. OECD research found that shoppers often stick with the same trader even after the advertised offer disappears, because they've already invested the time. It narrowly missed S tier because the deception often becomes visible once the switch happens. S tier tactics can keep working silently, even after you think you've consented. S tier. The most decision-distorting tactics, hardest for ordinary shoppers to correct for, and most strongly linked to regulatory harm. Two items live here. Negative option subscription traps. Silence becomes consent. Free trials roll into paid plans. Cancellation is buried or delayed. The charges keep going long after you thought you were done. The FTC said in March 2026 it received more than 100,000 complaints in the past 5 years about negative option and related practices. In the Uber case, the FTC alleged some users had to navigate up to 23 screens and 32 actions to cancel. In May 2026, Shutterstock agreed to pay $35 million to settle FTC allegations over subscription and cancellation practices. The issue isn't just auto-renewal. It's the full package: disclosure quality, consent quality, and cancellation symmetry. The danger here is persistence. A one-time lapse in attention converts into months of charges. That's why it's S tier. Final S tier tactic: drip pricing and hidden mandatory fees. The seller shows a low headline price, then adds unavoidable fees later in the funnel. This is the cleanest, most empirically backed way to make shoppers compare the wrong number. When consumers saw the total price up front, 83% chose the optimal deal. Under drip pricing, 65%. Morwitz, Greenleaf, and Johnson found that partitioned prices decrease recalled total cost and increase demand. OECD behavioral testing confirmed it. The FTC says its fee rule will save consumers up to 53 million hours per year searching for the real total price. In April 2026, the UK CMA ordered AA and BSM to refund more than 80,000 customers, repay over £760,000, and pay a £4.2 million fine over a hidden mandatory £3 booking fee. Drip pricing does not just annoy. It directly undermines market comparison by making honest businesses look expensive at the first point of comparison. That's why it's the top-tier danger alongside subscription traps. So S-tier holds the tactics that corrupt the two decisions you most need to make well. What will I actually pay, and can I stop paying easily? Drip pricing corrupts the first. Subscription traps corrupt the second. Neither S-tier item is beyond improvement. Honest all-in pricing defangs drip pricing. Simple cancellation plus strong reminders defang subscription traps. The S-tier placement is not saying the model is evil. It's saying the abusive implementation is unusually damaging. One more thing people misunderstand. Lower tier doesn't mean harmless. It means the tactic does less damage to real price comprehension and your autonomy. Charm pricing is still a nudge. Bundles can still hide weak value. But they're not in the same class as tactics that hide mandatory fees or turn silence into consent. The simple rule: the less transparent the total price and the harder the exit, the more dangerous the tactic. That's what separates clever from annoying from genuinely harmful. That's the full tier list. Keep your eyes open, keep your exits clear, and I'll see you next time.